listening for work, listening critically, or listening for pleasure? It's very interesting. When I started in this industry almost 25 years ago now, I had a large group of friends that were not necessarily audiophiles, but into good sound and massive music lovers. I have a very heavy music background in my group of friends, high school, junior high, university, et cetera, et cetera. Most of them, when they found out that, I was going to be, working as a loudspeaker designer or engineer and then later electronics, they said, wow, you must get to relax and listen to music all day and get paid for it. Isn't that fantastic? That must be great. Well, it's actually detrimental for many people, and I found this with myself, to enjoying music when you're just kicking back and relaxing at home. So one thing that's interesting is that if you're listening to a new design, whether it's a piece of electronics or it's a loudspeaker, you're listening critically. You're trying to pick out faults. You're trying to pick out things that it does well, doesn't do as well. And in many cases, it's with loudspeakers, for instance, it will be an A/B listening. So you're comparing two sets of speakers or two loudspeakers in mono. And after years and years of that sort of critical listening and listening to the same tracks, because you want to have a common list of, test tracks that you listen to, listening to those things over and over and over again, I found myself, on the verge of, audio burnout, if you will, or music burnout, because sometimes you'd spend, hours and hours late into the evening when working on a design that the deadline was coming up and we still weren't happy with, one area of performance or another. You go late into the night sometimes listening endlessly to the same list of tracks. Well, the last thing that I wanted to do was come home and put on some music, any music. And what I found that kind of broke this link were two things. My test track list is typically music that I won't listen to at home. There are a lot of tracks that I'd be happy never to hear again after hearing them tens of thousands of times. The most important thing was that I kind of consciously decided to stop listening overly critically at home. I just would put music on. I started to listen to more background music and have different, web radio stations and things playing. And I still do this to this day when I get home in the evening. And I really have stopped focusing on those audiophile details. I don't put on a new LP or listen to, some work that I haven't heard before on Tidal or another streaming service. I don't put that on and then start nitpicking for faults in either the recording or my setup. I just enjoy the music. I listen to the music. And it's got to the point where I actually, many times, I don't want to sit on my couch right, centered between the speakers. I'll sit off to the side and read a magazine or forums or something like that on my laptop while listening to a new album that I've picked up and kind of absorb it. And that distance, that listen critically at work and just be absorbed by the music, let it wash over you, almost subconsciously in some cases at home, that really helped me to avoid audio burnout. And I find this with, a number of people that tend to agonize over those details. And I guess if you're an audiophile, you're naturally disposed to always picking out faults in your system. And we've mentioned in previous videos that audio upgrade merry-go-round that some audiophiles get on and they never get off. They're never satisfied with their system. So I'm curious to know, do you find yourself, as a music fan, an audio fan, do you find yourself falling into that trap where you put on a new piece of music and you go, geez, the vocals are a little bit hot on this recording, or you know what, the imaging isn't very good on my system, maybe I'll tweak the speakers? Or have you got to the point where you just sit back and relax? I'd be interested to know, and I hope that, because I got that question so many times over the years, I hope that maybe gives you a little bit of view into how I listen. So thanks again as usual for watching, and I appreciate your comments.